In 1968, NASA's Apollo 7 was launched into orbit. The Olympics were hosted by Mexico. Hey Jude was a UK #1, and in the Potteries on the 26th of September, a baby boy was born. Mark, son to proud parents George and Gwyneth Poole, was born at North Staff's Hospital at 3:15 a.m. Weighing a generous 9 pounds 6 ounces, Mark came into the world as he does everything. Feet first. His childhood was spent growing up in the quaint Staffordshire village of Knipersley with his two brothers, Tim and James. At infant school, Mark was a keen student, often putting his all into his work. This solid commitment to academia often proved too much, and he would fall asleep and have to be carried out of class. This promise continued through Park Middle School, and in 1980, Mark started Biddulph High School, where his talent for sport emerged. Some sports he would readily participate in, like running. He still holds the 1500-metre record, and others, like rugby, he shied away from due to his newfound vanity and fear of losing teeth. As his teenage years progressed, Mark left sport behind and found new distractions in beer, cars, and girls, although not necessarily in that order. After high school, Mark enrolled at Stoke-on-Trent College, where apart from studying the female students, he took a course in electronics. When Mark's studies were over and faced with the prospect of being a gateway trolley boy full-time, he upped and left for Armenia, Russia. Extreme maybe, but as the youngest recruit of GEC, this experience shaped him for later life. It was here he made the transgression from beer to vodka, perfected the art of seduction, with the help of the Red Cross nurses, and learnt to iron. Roughing it on a diet of cornflakes and beer, Mark found comfort in his weekly calls home to Mum. After 6 long months, the prodigal son returned, a little lighter and a little wiser. Back home and back to his old ways, cars and girls. The first love of his life was his red MG. Sadly, the babe magnet met its match when its brakes failed and parked itself underneath a school bus. During the year 1995, Mark turned detective after his eyes met another's in the smoke-filled bars of Newcastle. Hunting down Tracy's number in the phone book, long before the time of mobiles, Mark got a yes. And on the 4th of November, Mark set out on a date like no other, a date with destiny. Little did he know that this was the girl that would one day be his future wife. After a long courtship and a lot of gentle persuasion, he threw away his infamous, not-so-little black book of phone numbers and detailed maps. Mark proposed to Tracy on the 28th of March 1999 in a lay-by on the Spaghetti Junction. We're not sure why Mark chose such a romantic location for this important event, but according to Tracy, he's a romantic at heart. Luckily for the romance of this story, the M6 toll was yet to be built. The couple were married on the 19th of June 1999 at St Mark's Church in Basford, but not without some drama. On the way to the church, Mark's wedding car broke down, making him late for his awaiting bride. Luckily, she hadn't arrived yet either, preferring to be fashionably late, and making Mark a little more than nervous waiting at the front of the aisle. On the 4th of January 2003, Esme Isabella was born, making Mark and Tracy very proud parents and also giving Gwyneth and George their first grandchild. 3 years later, on 30th of June 2006, Mark and Tracy had a little baby boy, Cassian Henry. This coincided with the gripping World Cup quarter-final match between Argentina and Germany. After the birth, Mark's first words of support for Tracy were to inform her of Germany's win on penalties. Her reply, although gracious we're sure, has been left undocumented. It's obvious to see that Mark loves being a dad, playing with them, spoiling them, and relaying funny anecdotes to all. He's so proud of Esme, his little princess, and Cassian, a mini Mark, for all to see. And as time goes on, both will await with bated breath at the prospect of inheriting the family fortune, of Star Wars figures and Abercrombie & Fitch t-shirts. During all these life-changing moments, Mark still found time on Valentine's Day 2003 to purchase the company he had begged to work for many years earlier. After being seduced to the creative industry of video production, little did he know that the glamorous world of corporate videos often led to endless trips around the M4 corridor, or even fields full of potatoes, although some shoots were a little better and led to Mark being listed on the Internet Movie Database. Mark later rebranded the company, and ID2 Media Limited was born, which continued to prosper, gathering clients only the top London agencies could dream of, all from the sleepy town of Congleton. As with all hard-working people, a lot of their life is taken up by work. But due to the nature of this, only a small percentage of people get to see this part of his life. It's fair to say, Mark has worked hard to get where he is today. But it mustn't be forgotten just how hard he's played along the way too. Singing and dancing, drinking, and then drinking some more. Shopping is a keen pastime for Mark, as is fashion. His penchant for stylish clothing puts most of the wags in Wilmslow to shame, and there are not many 40-year-old men who can get away with lycra. Luckily, Mark doesn't let this discourage him from exercising. Finally, and most importantly according to Mark, comes Star Wars. I'm not sure where or when this obsession began, but it's fair to say it's become unhealthy, and now he's roping the whole family in too. So here we all are at this great milestone in Mark's life. It's been 40 years and he still looks no different from his teenage years. Happy birthday, Mark. Now are the drinks on you? Oh, in regards to my check, you couldn't make it cash, could you?